phone.
Welcome, everybody. So nice to see you here. I am really grateful that we have this opportunity to explore with you. I think, as Laurie was explaining, I have a little WhatsApp group, and one of the questions we had on the WhatsApp group came from Ivan, Beyond the Noise, my friend Ivan, and he was asking about purpose, and it struck me that it's one of those things that has so many layers to it. One of those topics that has so many people have so many different views of it and understandings of it that we thought it would be a really good topic for today. And I'm so happy to see everybody here. I've got something to say on the matter, but I thought I'd start just as a to give us somewhere to work from. I asked Google what finding your purpose in life meant. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying this is the baseline, right, of what generally people understand. So finding your purpose in life means discovering your unique why, the guiding force that gives your existence meaning, direction, and fulfillment. Often, at the intersection of your values, passions, and skills, inspiring you to contribute positively and grow. It's a journey of self discovery involving reflection, trying new things, helping others, and finding meaning in daily activities, which boosts motivation, satisfaction, and even health. I don't know about you, but that description sounds a little surface to me. It sounds a little um, trite, is the word, I guess. Um, and I could probably speak for quite a while on it, but I'm interested to hear what everybody else heard in that and has seen for themselves. Um, so, Laurie, Billy, who would like to begin the process?
I just want to say that I have a new cold as of last night. So I'm going to be turning off my
Yay!
right? Great timing, right? So when I blow my nose and I cough, I'm going to be turning off my screen. And I'm going to pass it over to Billy or Richard. What's striking you?
Richard, you want to have a part of it?
Oh, I always like having a part of it, don't I? We had this discussion actually, Billy and I. We actually had a bit of a discussion last week and this week, and today, this morning, we have a ritual call, and that's come about from a great friendship over the years with Billy and myself. And we were talking about this purpose and how people kind of perceive it to be like, oh, I must get that purpose. It must be there. I must be creative. I must know my purpose in life. But what I've come to see and hear from myself is, you know, for me, actually slowing down, really feeling, knowing what I actually want at that moment in time. And maybe you call it a ritual, whatever you call it, but I always ask myself every time I wake up, I get to be just in between that waking up and going having my cup of tea. British, they have that British and a cup of tea and a little biscuit, just in the morning just to get things kicking. But I just sit there, nothing else. Just sit there noticing the stillness around me, noticing the noise, but not attending the noise. Just becoming aware of my awareness, if you wish to say it that way. And noticing how I am with it. Noticing that feeling of, what do I call it, as being purpose? It's just that feeling for me in that moment. Now, today, my purpose could have been, you could say, having the conversation with my friend Billy. Then having the colleagues, having a conversation with them. Then having other conversations. And one conversation at a time is how I see what I create. I create that purpose by being who I am. Now we can set that purpose alight by saying, yeah, but what's your purpose for 2026? Really? Really? I think for me, this is my next purpose, actually being here now, talking to you, being there with you, listening to you all, and sharing and hearing all your stories about what it means to you. Because we're all going to create our own little story about it. But that understanding is all the same, I believe. And where it comes from, as Billy highlighted or shared with us about love, it's that understanding of love and what it is. And that love could be the passion, it can be the feeling. Most of the time, it's the feeling. That feeling of knowing that it's good to move on to that next phase, the good to go down that street, the feeling of knowing that this is right to have this conversation right now. The feeling of me putting out that poetry book that I've created. I just wanted to put it out there because of all the experiences I've had over the years. There's no purpose behind it. Just creating that awareness for everyone for them to see something for themselves. So we're all going to come up with our own little understanding, our story about purpose. But what does it really mean for you as an individual? No one else can take that away from you. And that purpose can be just presence. Presence in this moment, presence being with everyone in this moment, and being grateful for everyone being here. As Steph said, we're so grateful for you all being here. So that's my take on this purpose. Billy.
Should have gone first. Should have gone first. Wow, Richard. As I was listening to you talking there, and like you and I have had these discussions, and I love listening to how you see it. If we're talking about it from a three principles perspective, it epitomizes the separate realities of how it appears to us. This is ultimately what we're seeing. But what occurred to me, Richard, when I was asked to join this about purpose, was I began to look at this first, like Steph gave us the Google meaning of it, and then, well, that's there, but what's here, what's under it, and whatever. And what occurred to me and what makes sense to me and what's become a part of the passion of all of this is the simplification of it. We've what I have noticed personally over as time has gone by is how we have turned certain things into monetizing them and cashing them into coaching and all of these different things, and creates a whole dynamic around, like the words of purpose and stuff. Finding your purpose. What's my purpose? What's my why? Ring me and I'll help you with your why, and your purpose, etc. And it created, in my mind, it created that type of a monster that distracted people, and it became another one of those red herrings that we chase. What is our purpose in life? And I would imagine for me, and I think again, like I say, so much has changed in the last couple of years. And like I said to Richard this morning, when did being alive stop being enough? When did being alive stop being enough? That it had to be something else. And as I look into the word purpose, to me it appears like the word impact. It tends to it sounds more like that than doing something on purpose. That tends to come afterwards. And what I found for me was the more that I slowed everything down, following on totally what I completely agree with everything that Richard said, was that when my mind started to clear, I started to take another step in a direction that felt right, which created an impact on my life. It improved my life, and it took me here. And as I was here, and I went, oh yeah, this feels a lot. So I started taking a step in that direction, and I started to follow that feeling, and that began to impact my life. And wow, this is really good. And it began this journey of following the feeling, and each time it did, it impacted my life more. And then I noticed, hang on, if I start following this, I started to take more deliberate steps on purpose. I was moving in the direction of this on purpose. And I found that it started to reveal more to me. It started to reveal more about myself. And then what became apparent in that zigzagging back and forth, that I started talking to other people, and that became part of me making a deliberate decision, being on purpose. And suddenly I found my purpose in life is this work. By first, the revelation of the principle slowed everything down for me. And it was only when my mind started to settle and I just started to go, well, like we said earlier on, it just started to harmonize. And I just started to follow that feeling. And for me, purpose is more about, recognizing what it is that's good in us, that feels good, that's right, and then purposefully moving in that direction. And then when it moves to the next phase and it moves on, I purposefully move in that direction. And so for me, and Richard is so right when he says, like, what's your purpose for 2026? I go, I don't know, being alive is a good start. And I go from there. But what I have learned is that, like, if we set a goal, it's back to what Steph brought into this. It's trite. It's here. But to me, listening to Sydney Banks and listening to what he's been saying, it's just allowing, for me, how it appears, it allows itself to sweeten, to deepen, and follow that feeling deliberately, on purpose, and allow it to take me to where the next part of the story and the next part of the story and the next. And that to me is what purpose, that's how it appears to me, it's how it feels to me. And it makes life really interesting. It makes life really interesting. It just makes living very interesting because, geez, like, I turn up in the most amazing places, like today. And that's kind of, without getting too ministerial about it, that's how it appears to me.
Beautiful, Billy. Beautiful.
Just like the flow of life carries us to places we never could have imagined. I mean, just to bring it down to my own personal experience. I was raised to be a wife and a mother. And I mean, I was 18 when I was told, well, you should go to school to be an art teacher so that you'll be home when your children are home. Okay, when you're 18, you just accept what your purpose is. And when I was reflecting on being with all of you today, it occurred to me that Sid Banks was a welder. That was not his purpose in his ultimate purpose in life. How did that happen? And how did it happen that I would be in the position I'm in today in my life to be on a screen with all of you and the people I see individually? It's just incredible to have a connection with another human soul. It could be on a screen. It doesn't have to be in person. That came through during COVID. And the story you told, Billy, before people started coming on, when it was just the four of us, was incredible. I had no idea. I had no idea what led me to read a comment you had on Richard's Facebook. And I knew the name Billy Man, but we never met on a screen, even much less in person, or not in person either. We could have run into each other at a Viva event in Spain or somewhere or other. Yeah, in fact, I thought you were in the UK, but you're in Ireland. So before Steph and Richard came on, we said, oh, I wanted to go to Ireland. We need a retreat happening in Ireland. And you just never know. It's just finding the thrill of the ride is what comes to me. The thrill of the ride of the life. And sometimes it is huge. I mean, that's what Billy described before everybody came on the screen. So I'm going to pass it over to you to talk about what happened to you. I mean, it was, to me, your story was as miraculous as Sid Banks' story.
Can I say something?
Steph, yeah.
I just wanted to get, before we go on to different kind of subject, I thought I'd just kind of give my halfpence worth of how it looks to me, how purpose looks to me. So I remember when I first came across the principles, I was trying to start my business up, and I was on a coaching program around business, and I remember people saying, you have to have a vision. You have to know where you're trying to get to, so that every day you can wake up in the morning and you can do things that will get you closer to your vision. Loads of people on the course that had amazing visions, like, world-changing visions, and I didn't have one. And for some reason, I kind of got really down about that. Thought, I need to have purpose, I need to have a vision, I need to know where I'm going. Because my business was my identity. That was how I thought of myself. And to fall at the first fence and not have a vision felt very deflating for me. Felt like I just wasn't doing it right. And very, very slowly over the years, I began to see that the idea of a fixed vision. I mean, there are some people who have a fixed vision, and God bless them, they have amazing lives. But I began to be a little bit less critical of myself, and I began to see that my first purpose was to meet the essence of who I was. My primary purpose was to actually understand a tiny little bit of my essence, where the source of my inspiration and creativity and love came from. Because I began to see that if I was trying to create a vision, if I was trying to create a purpose from the me that was unaware of that, if I was trying to create that vision from a me that was identified with being successful in business, that was identified with my conditioned mind, my programming, that would lead me in completely the wrong direction. What I've seen for myself, and you know, I'm not saying this is universally true for everybody, it might or might not be, but it seems to me that as Billy was saying and Richard was saying, there is something calling to us in life. There is a deeper part of us that speaks to us, not in intellect, not in words, but it speaks to us in the feeling. This is how my little brain thinks of this. I can see that life, the universe, mind nourishes us. Every moment of every day, life provides nourishment through, you know, the food we eat, through the light we get from the sun, from the water, the hydration we get. We are taken care of. We are held. And I think, this is my thinking, that life, for me anyway, doesn't really communicate in words. Life communicates in feeling. It communicates in knowing. It bypasses my tiny little brain, speaks to my heart instead. So in a world where none of us have a clue what's going on, life, nobody can tell us what life is. It is a complete mystery. We spend a lot of time trying to figure it out, and we have a lot of ideas on what it is, but we don't know. It's a mystery. The only way forward for me is following what lights us up, following what we love, because that's not an intellectual exercise. That's life, universe, mind. That's speaking directly to us. That's life living us, breathing us. And I think it's fine to have a goal, to have a vision. But I think to me, it feels, what's that saying? The world needs people who have lit up. That's the purpose for me. The purpose is to find out who we are and then live from that. That's it. Sorry, Laurie, I kind of butted in a bit there.
Beautiful stuff. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, finding out who we are from our essence rather than our figuring it out. Brain, I would say. The brain is good for certain things like calculations and timing and whatnot. But yeah, it's funny because when we got together initially to talking about this, our first title was, just a little funny aside here, there's no purpose in looking for your purpose. Sounds so silly, but there's so much truth to that. While we're busy looking for, and getting kind of neurotic about what am I here? What am I supposed to be doing with my life? We're missing what life is presenting us to do. And I see myself, and it's beautiful, as a servant to what life wants me to do. I'm serving the living essence. I mean, and it just is such a beautiful feeling, and it's so easy. It's so easy. It's like, what could be easier than just showing up, putting one foot in front of the other? Okay, this is the next thing to do. And do I get upset and aggravated? Yeah. And you want to know how long it lasts? I would say, compared to how it used to be in my life, a millisecond. I mean, it can't last because, the feeling, like everybody is so far has been talking about, the feeling is what guides us. If the brain is quiet enough to pay attention, I guess it's hard to put words to it because when we say pay attention, we're thinking of the brain again. But noticing, when we notice where life is leading us and what wants to happen, that's how this whole gathering took place. We didn't set out and say, hey, we have a goal and we're going to do this. It unfolded on its own. That's how it felt to me. And certainly I see, I know, it's just, I see, Billy, you're shaking your head, that I'm just gobsmacked by the fact that I never got to hear your story. I mean, Steph never even heard your story. So who else wants to say anything before we give the floor over to Billy for his story? Steph.
I'd love to hear what people are hearing. I'd love to hear what's landing for you guys.
Yes.
Me too.
We have one hand up. Estelle, is it?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hello. Oh, thank you. It resonates so much when you talk about just following the feeling and aligning, taking inspired actions out of that. I feel like I have dreams, I have passions, I have ideas, but I have no idea how they are going to unfold. Zero idea. But because I am present and open, and somehow there is a deeper knowing about what I want, and I want to stay true to that, and so I'm just following the feeling. My actions really stem from this alignment with where I want to go. But I have no idea how things are presenting, and but yet I seems to be moving in these directions. Yeah, attracting attracting things that come and help me unfold my my vision, because I do have a vision, but I have no idea about how it unfolds. I just go with the flow.
Yes.
Estelle is a
Yes, it's beautiful.
perfect example of what we're talking about. She probably won't want to blow her own
Yes.
trumpet here, but she's creating an organization called Soul Learning, which is multinational, and it's designed to bring the three principles understanding to business, to education, to individuals. And it's a massive, massive vision. And the way that Estelle is bringing it together is exactly what we've been saying. And people and things have been coming out from nowhere, haven't they? They've been appearing from there's you couldn't have planned it this way, but it's I just have to say thank you to Estelle, because she's has been amazing, and she really has followed her heart.
Can I share a miracle that happened recently?
Please. Yes.
So I was telling Steph at the very beginning when we first met and talked about soul learning, and said, but what would you like to do? I said, I really want to take the 3P to the UN one day and be a speaker at the UN and do that.
The UN.
Yes, that's it. I want this to be shared with the world. And just out of the blue last month, in fact, over a year, I've been sitting next to a person who is working with the UN and addressing systemic challenges in Africa, also in the US, and she's a policymaker. And I didn't know any of that, but we started to chat and get to know each other. And she never shared much about what she was doing. And I was sharing about, because she's from Africa, and I was sharing that with Steph. We were talking with some leaders in a refugees camp who are trying their best to develop some services and share the three principles. And slowly she heard about the three principles, and she said, I'm curious about it. Can we just go for lunch and talk about it? And we did. And then she showed me her CV, and my jaw just dropped. And now she's just joining us because she's been working with the UN and embassies and at a very high level. And now she's helping us to structure the organizations in a way that we can really address systemic challenges in Africa and US. And I don't know where it comes from, but it's amazing. And everything is coming together now.
Right. Exactly my experience. You and I, Estelle, we've got to get on a Zoom together.
Yes. because she's connecting
Yeah.
us with an organization which has 35,000 members. And I'm like, oh God, I need some help here.
Well, Stuart and
Bless you.
Allan are going to love
Yes.
hearing about this. So that they're creating something called the Universal Wellness Community. So yeah, it's right up there, alley too. We'll get together.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Lauren.
see, I mean, this is how we're all watching how things get created through us,
Yeah.
not from us. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Not by
Absolutely.
us individually. It's through us and the right group comes
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Like, how does that happen? It's just beyond
Thank
the
you,
ability to
Estelle.
comprehend.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, everyone, because I'm learning a lot with this group as well. So I've witnessed some transformation also. So thank you to all of you.
Thank you. Ivan. Hello.
Yes, hello, hello, hello. When you spoke before, Steph, you nailed it.
Thank you.
What did he nail, Ivan?
Getting to know ourselves and living as close as possible to that knowing. In that knowing comes talking to the UN. Comes in 2006, I had a mental breakdown. I was prepared to kill myself. And then I met a young lady. And after 3 meetings with her, along with 20 others, I pointed with my whole hand at her and said, I want to change place with you. And me sitting here is part of that dream. Being part of soul learning is a part of that dream. Being part of 3PGC and 3PSC is part of that dream. I'm living my dream. Who am I? To me, it's simple. I'm part of the whole. You say being a one, there can be two views of one manifesting as many, or many manifesting as one. To me, it's one manifesting as many. Because the other way, it would be conflicts, many manifesting as one. Who's going to be in charge? Here it's one. We are one. And that one is energy, and that energy is unconditional love. And living as close as I can to that me is producing this. So thank you, Estelle. Thank you, Steph. Thank you. Thank you for being a part of my life. I'm eternally grateful.
Bless you, Ivan.
Thank you to you. Thank you, because we are here for each other, and we are all equal, all the same, and it's nice to bask in that energy, because in that ecosystem that we are co-creating through collaboration, and nothing could happen without each other. That co-creation could not happen. So thank you to you.
Something somebody said to me a long time ago when I first came across the principles was, the question isn't who am I? The question is, what am I?
Right.
That's always stuck with me.
I agree.
And what did you see from it, Steph?
I think when I ask the question, who am I? My intellect, my conditioned mind is looking at the self, looking at the separate individual. And what am I? Is opening up that that vista to everything. What am I isn't a me or a my. It's not my life. I'm not living my life. Life is living me in that context. That's how it feels. The more I can get Steph out the picture, the better my life is,
Right? Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, life is living me. I love that. So,
So
so true. So right on.
who
The
else
energy.
who else would like to just say, just it doesn't have to be, profound. It's just what is landing for people, what's resonating, what sounds true.
Anything that occurs to you.
Steph, good to see you. Good to see everybody.
Ailins,
This is so timely for me. As you know, I've had a pretty rough few years, and I found myself a little while ago in a pretty good place. I stopped in life, and actually, it felt good to do nothing, to have no responsibilities, to have nothing to do. Um, but that started to change a few weeks ago. And I started thinking I should be doing something. I should be going back to coaching. I should be going back to playing music. I should be going back to, fill in the blank. Um, and I feel I've got a lot to give. I feel I've got a lot to do in life still. So I started to explore things, look at things, play with things. Nothing sat right, nothing fitted, nothing felt right on me. It was just like wearing, a pair of shoes that are the wrong size. It's just not right for you. And I've had a few sleepless nights over it, thinking I should be doing something or I should be creating something. I should be writing. I should be. And when this opportunity to be on this call or to be part of this call came up, it was so timely because I realized I'm just in such overwhelm up here, so much thinking about who I should be or what I should be doing. And just your introductions, you, Richard, Laurie, Billy, everybody just reminded me. It's the forget, it's the remember, it's the reminding that doing nothing is okay. And actually, if at the moment, and for the last 2 years I've done nothing, if I need another 2 years of doing nothing, that's okay. And duh, I'm just having one of those moments of, yeah. And if that's okay, that's okay. What will come will come. I found myself in the last month trying to force things, trying to do things, trying to make things happen, and they don't. Nothing came of anything that I tried. So no surprise. Um, so yeah, I just think thank you for reminding me. Thank you for the tap on the shoulder. Thank you for waking me back up to I'm enough and I'm enough as I am, exactly as I am. If that's doing nothing, that's doing nothing. I had a conversation with a very old friend a few days ago, and it was it was all about who we are. And it's interesting what you said, Steph, who we are. It's not who we are, it's what we are. And just unconditional love comes to my head every time, just comes straight into me. And that's what I'd lost, that connection to Lindsay, to that unconditional love that's within me. And when I touch it, and I'm touching it now, and I touched it as soon as you guys started talking, it's just the light comes back on
Yeah.
and we're all good.
Yeah.
So thank you,
Bless you, my
everybody.
friend.
It's lovely. I
It's the
wouldn't.
same for me.
Yeah.
That's for me. That's the place to start.
Mm.
And we
I
get
To
to
wouldn't be
remember.
witness that,
surprised.
Lindsay. Thank
Yes,
you so much. That was so
I wouldn't be.
great. Yeah.
Listen, I wouldn't be remotely surprised if stuff started just turning up now.
Well, yeah.
Right.
I wouldn't. Because as I'm listening to you talking, it's like I'm resting my intellect.
Mm.
Mm.
I'm just going to put it back down and
Yeah.
just put it over there and just let it alone and just stop twiddling the knobs of it and just let it be.
Think that
And
knowledge.
once the system settles, yeah, I got to
Yeah.
tune this and fix this and whatever, but stop.
Yeah. What's interesting is I mean, I've done three-piece stuff for quite a long time now, and I coached until 2 years ago. And it was the right thing to do to stop it then. But I'm starting to really miss that now. And I'm missing these conversations with like-minded people, with people that are in this space. And, it's just that, yeah, I miss the connection. And I think this is an interesting call because I think you're right, this is a first step to maybe reconnecting with some of these things.
Well, then
So
it's
again,
time to
just
trust that. Yeah.
thank you for reminding me.
Mm.
Mm. You know this space, Lindsay. I know you do.
Mm.
We
Love
just
that.
we just sometimes forget that. That's all.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So,
I forgot
Yeah.
and went down a rabbit hole in my head
Yeah.
of thought, of should be's,
Yeah.
and just they're not helpful.
well, I
When our
always
human gets in our way, comes to me, right, Lindsay? It's like our
Totally.
human will get in our own way. And it's so human. Who doesn't experience that? But to hear your story, your
Mm.
lived experience, like I can relate, and I would bet everybody on the call can relate.
Mm.
Yeah, it's just beautiful. I'm with you. I love these conversations.
Mm.
It's my life's blood, you might say.
Mm. Thank you, my
Yeah.
dear friend. Love you, man.
Love you too.
Yes, we had,
Who's
sorry,
next?
we had Nikki Peters leaving a message. She's on, but she just left a message in the chat saying, not thinking about yourself, but thinking about yourself less
Yeah.
is what
Yeah.
she shared about there. So I just wanted to highlight that. I found that was very appropriate to share that
Yeah.
now. So thank you, Nikki, for that.
Beautiful Sid saying, isn't it? Mm.
could I speak to something there? If there's anybody else has something to add.
Oh,
Go for
Billy.
it, Billy.
Okay, it's something that became very clear to me was how much I was avoiding feeling.
Oh,
Okay, and
Say
like
more.
for me, it's the sacredness of feeling as opposed to the avoidance of feeling. And as Lindsay was talking, I was being reminded of it as I am myself on a regular basis of walking the line between feeling it and not feeling it and seeing it and not seeing it and wandering off down a rabbit holes or whatever. But what I know to be true for me is that feeling is the great sacred gift of life. There's a sacredness to it that's missing, that when we're lost in our intellect, there is this desire to stop feeling. And but truth is what it is that we want to stop feeling bad. But for me, when I began this whole journey, oh God, I started to feel so good after decades, and somehow it kind of created almost like an inertia within me. And for years, I lived with that and trying to hold on to the good feeling and all of those misunderstandings. But as time in the last couple of years have evolved, when, like I said earlier on, when did alive being alive stop being enough? It's also the same with feeling. If we remove feeling, well, then we're just no different to a laptop. We're no different to a phone. We're no different to a piece of equipment. Because the essence of life is feeling it. To me, the essence of knowing the truth of what Sid said when he said, of the fact of knowing, back to knowing what we are, etc. But from that place of knowing that whatever feeling shows up is part of that experience in that moment. It's part of the wholeness, whether it's from the intellect or from the experience or whatever. But it's simply part of that. And there is no wrong feeling. You call it anger, call it frustration, call it being lost, call it being stuck, call it being joyful. It doesn't matter. There's a sacredness to it. Because it's what the experience is the sense of it, not just the audio visual spectacle of it that moment, but the full experience of it. And it's the feeling of it for me that gives me that. And so sometimes I can be sad. Sometimes I can be full of grief about the loss of somebody or something in my life, but actually be okay with that. Knowing that that is simply part of the experience of what and who I am in this moment. And when I began to see that from a place deeper, that when Sid was saying that, I began to realize, oh, Sid was talking about, not being afraid of our experience. He didn't say it was about always being good and always feeling good. It's always about being at peace with whatever the experience it is that unfolds in the moment. And the sacredness of feeling it and being okay with the fullness of it. And when I began to see that, I could cry like a Deandrix puppy on the telly, like when he's pushing the toilet paper around the place, because it's very sweet. I'm scrolling through whatever the reels, and I have a real big soft spot for parentings and kids and all these cute things. And my eyes get all watery and stuff. And I love the feeling of that it evokes within me when I sense that. But it's no different. There are times when I get frustrated or I get pissed off or I get annoyed or whatever. It's the same thing. So there's a sacredness to it. There's a knowing to it. There's that in the fullness of who I am. It's what this experience is in its fullness in this moment. And I am no longer afraid of my experience. And I think when I was listening to Lindsay talking, and I could hear that there was this sense of frustration and this sense of the shoulding and all of these things. And I was going, well, Lindsay is getting very wound up inside in himself about what he should be doing and whatever. And then because of this settling, he started, in my mind, I'm paraphrasing, and Lindsay, so please feel free to absolutely correct me. I could be wrong here, and I'm happy to be wrong with it. But it was like something reminded you to, oh, hang on a sec. This is just part of the experience of being where I am right now. And something just went, and you walk back up. And you got okay with the feeling of the experience. And everything just, as it does for me, it just automatically settles itself down. And I wanted to share that because I heard that, Lindsay. That's when you were talking, I was going, it's the sacredness of feeling and allowing whatever feeling it is to show up and be at peace with that. So thank you, Lindsay. I appreciate it.
You're absolutely right, Billy. And I didn't use the word feeling, but that's a lot of what I've been feeling is frustration. And Steph knows this, but a few weeks ago I got a dog, and I've never had a dog before. And wow, what a teacher. And partly the dog is helping to slow me down because I'm having to learn patience. I'm having to learn to train it. I'm having to learn a lot of things. But no matter what happens, the love that dog gives me every day just again is a good reminder that we're all love. That's it.
Beautiful.
Underneath all the thinking. That's what's
Absolutely.
there all the time. Oh, it's beautiful. I know Estelle has her hand up. There was just one thing I wanted to say, and I forgot what it was. Oh, that there's a famous quote of Sid's. I think it's in the beginning of The Missing Link about if, I'm going to make a mess of it. I'm sure one of you knows it by heart, but it has to do with if when people become okay with their experience, that's when the world we'll live in a different world. We'll have a new world without judging it, without trying to make it different, or yeah,
Yeah.
let it be. Beatles knew this. Estelle, your hand is up. You're next.
Yes, it was so beautiful what Billy shared and about the experience. And I was really scared of silence. I used to be very scared of silence, and I always wanted to feel that. But then I realized it was the most beautiful thing recently, just to not be scared of that experience, of not knowing, of not, knowing what to do, not having any answers or whatever. Really an invitation to fall into that silence, because I realized that is where, just like in winter, you think like nothing is happening, but suddenly you have new little buds coming out. And wow. And it's exactly what happened. I felt that energy, like creative energy, like everything needed to settle, but it was there, it's there. And suddenly, out of the blue, a little bud come out, and it's back into, it's back into a kind of cycle, just like the seasons.
Mm.
And then I noticed that cycle. And each time how much we grow deeper, just like a tree grow in all ways, deeper roots and higher and more branches and more buds. Yeah, it's just so nice. So thank you for pointing out to this. Yeah, thank you.
So we've hit the hour mark.
No.
Is there anything else that's on anybody's heart they want to share? Anything that's on their heart?
Just unmute and see what comes for it.
If I can inject a little trivia, I love this conversation about how to feel like you have a purpose and just being alive. Let's start there and appreciating our experience. And I've been thinking about that a lot as almost retired person. And I was watching, I see a lot of YouTubes and the algorithm knows I'm old. So I see a lot of seniors talking about different issues. It's pretty amusing. And I relate. So, yeah, and a lot of them are struggling or talking about this stage of their life and what does that look like and purpose. And so at all age, we kind of confront this. But I loved one guy, I guess he was recently retired and not gainfully employed anymore, but he said he's fine with it. The biggest decision he makes every day is what and where to eat. And he's just great with that. You know, and I loved it. I just had to laugh. I said, boy, that's taking it down to the most basic level of being alive. And you know, like in a few weeks, he may get tired of it and find something, but he just was loving where he was, and it was very minimal. That's where we start. But hearing about relying on your feeling inside in your heart then to present what, if anything, you'd like to do or could do is the way to go. I still am learning to do that, and it's nothing else has worked as well in my life. It's so wonderful. And I don't stay there all the time, but over and over again, I notice that when I'm not having to figure it out with my brain, stuff comes up better. It's amazing. It's still not easy always to remember that. My thinking and habits of thinking come back, but I don't care anymore. I don't worry about it. I've gotten confidence that it's there, and sometimes it'll come through to me. So I'm appreciating other people describing, you know, how that works for them too. But I had to laugh. I started to think all I have to figure out today is what I have to what I'm going to eat. Maybe that's enough, and I can calm down and enjoy it.
Yeah. That's how we're designed, Nancy. That's how we're designed.
We're of it. We're not part of it. We're of it. You know, it's, you know, it's, I use this metaphor when I'm talking to my clients, when I describe it as, you know, if Sid was talking about formless energy, that if you could imagine it as just a river, and everything that's in that formless river that takes form, we call it ice. So ice is still, it's still that water, it's still that river, but the denser and more compacted we get as ice, we don't flow in the river as easy as, but the more, you know, it's just simply a metaphor, but we're of the river. We are ice, but ice is ultimately of the river. So there is no separation. We're of it. So we're not separate from wisdom. We're not waiting for wisdom. We're not, there is, because we're of it as opposed to connected to it, or there's a bridge to it, or there's a separation to it. We're of it. And the more we, the more we become clearer, the calmer we become, or whatever that word may be, what happens is that our ice melts down into this original form and flows in the river, and we flow through it so easily. It's just that when we get in our heads, we get all icy, we freeze up, we compact, and we don't flow that easy. But it doesn't mean that we are not separated from it. It just means that the form that we have taken is just denser than usual, and we're not quite tuned into the river. And the calmer I become, the more the ice of it melts and it settles back into the river, and just back into the flow of that formless energy. But always the same, we're of it, we're not separate from it, and nobody's disconnected from it, and it's just because we're of it. It can't be possible.
Billy, that's a great analogy about universal consciousness and how we're a part of that. I'm new to Sid Banks, thanks to Laurie. I'm learning through him. But I have been studying Thomas Campbell. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's written some books called My Big Toe. I've struggled through the first two. I've yet to start the third one. But Sid and Thomas Campbell are right together in their way of thinking and what they know. And it's been really enlightening. But I love that analogy. I haven't heard that from Sid yet, but I like it a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, I love it too. Thanks, Deborah. I love it too, Billy. You know, sometimes with the ice and sometimes with the water flowing. Sometimes,
Jan, did
yeah.
you?
And when we
So-
notice it, the ice starts to melt. Oh, I don't know where that just came from, but that's how it just looked to me. Steph,
Jan, did you have something you wanted to add?
I did, but it got said. You know, if you sit
Oh,
here
did
long
it?
enough,
Okay. Yeah.
everything gets
but
said.
we want to hear it from you, Jan.
Yes.
I can't remember. I can't.
We want
There
to
were
hear
so
your
many.
words.
There were so many moments, but okay. Well, I like the thing about the map, and you know, all my life, I thought that there was somewhere I had to get to because I was brought up to believe that. You know, was squeezed into the university system, and you know, you have to get a job for life, blah blah blah, and it's quite simply the idea of traveling without a map, you know, and just dealing with whatever comes up, but always follow the road that you feel passionate about. And I spent a lifetime dutifully following the other one, the safe one.
Yeah.
And so it unfolds when you travel without a map, basically.
Yeah.
It's in, you know, in a nutshell.
Beautiful.
It's lovely.
In a nutshell, the map is bollocks.
Yep, that's even more of a nutshell. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll see.
But it's so much part. It's so deeply in the structure, isn't it, of our
Oh
culture?
God, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
We're
Bless you.
all of us are raised by our parents to have purpose, but a lot of times it's antithetical to the real purpose for us being here. So I think whatever path we followed in our lives has to be the correct one. That's what the universal consciousness wants us to learn. So
the purpose that my parents wanted for me, my father anyway, and for anyone who's young really, is he didn't know who I was and I didn't know who I was. So, and that does actually apply to everybody. And
absolutely.
End of really, it's got to be without a map.
Yeah. I love that metaphor. Living without a map. Yeah. It's great.
This has been great. Thank you. Very it's lovely to get back in talking about this stuff. Love it.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
And we still have time on the docket. Yeah.
We do?
We do.
We do?
Yeah, we set aside 90 minutes. You guys gotta pay attention to your emails.
Oh, we didn't know that.
It's hard when you get 300 emails a day, I know.
Oh, she's been sending emails and everything.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
really, anybody who wants to leave.
I'm off now because I'm offended.
Yeah, if you have to get off, I was hoping we could get you recorded though,
Oh
talking
no,
about
I'm only poking fun. No,
He was
I'm
joking.
under no pressure at all. I'm under no pressure for the evening. I'm under.
Oh, great. So if anybody else has to leave
PM.
because you thought we would be done at 2 Eastern time, it's now 11 minutes past. If anybody has to leave, feel free to, because just contact me with I'm going to put it in the chat where to send me a message, and Richard, Steph, anybody, to get in touch with you guys. If you want the recording, you'll have to contact me though. Because I'm the one recording it. So I just put it in the chat where to find me. And if you can stay, we'd love to have you stay to hear what I heard from Billy when we first came on. But first, Richard, Steph, either of you have anything you want to say before Billy comes on?
I was just wondering whether Billy was okay to talk about it.
Yeah, it's not a
Yeah.
problem. It's not a problem.
Oh,
But it's second to this. I'm happy, either way, I just haven't really been speaking about it publicly because I just haven't been. It's not anything uh, it was just mine for whatever period of time it needed to be mine, Steph. That was all. So
What
I've no
you shared with us was incredible before the group came on. And this may not be the place to share it. It's totally up to you, Billy.
No, I'm happy to
We
share it.
could always
I'm absolutely, that's not a problem. No, but if we can feel that we're complete for the purpose of, there you go, the purpose of being here to talk about purpose, right? Hey, I'm here all
so
week.
so
But
then just start saying it, and then we'll see. Share it,
right.
because I know the story.
Yeah, you do. You were with me all the way through it,
I've been
like
in
so.
for you all the way, but I mean, I think it
Yeah,
would be
we all the way
appropriate
through.
now. I think it would be appropriate now for you to just, we maybe do a sequel to this in the new year, but I think it would be nice for everyone to hear what Laurie and Stefan were hearing for themselves when you shared your story. And as you said, I've been with you in this journey for a good few years now on this. So I think it would be appropriate, Billy, if you'd just like to share that now to everyone. And so we'll let
Right.
you take the
Well,
floor.
so long story short, to abbreviate it, I was Steph had asked me how I was and how things were and how I was feeling and whatever, and I said, "Well, I'm good now. I'm back to health and whatever." And that's how it began. That's how the conversation began. And then Laurie asked the question, "What happened?" And the rest of the story came out. So, long story short, was I got long COVID in 21, and I was quite unwell with it. But it also revealed that I was a complete blockage in my right aorta, and it took me a number of months to get well enough to have the stent put in, etc., which happened in early January, the follow 6 months later, when I got well enough from COVID for the hospital to put in the stent. And 2 weeks after, I was put on a standard medication that everybody gets put on after they've had a stint, and one of those drugs is called amlodipine, and it's around for 60 years, and it's universally accepted as safe. And I turned out to be the one in a billion that reacted to it. And so 22 turned into a bit of a nightmare because my health really started to fail because I was already compromised before with the 6 months prior or whatever. And I'd had psoriasis, but it got really amplified and it really affected my feet and stuff. And so infection started getting in, cellulitis infection started to come up through my legs. And so I was getting treated for that. And even my legs were getting discolored. And it was just a whole mess of things. And I was in another hospital. I had seizures. I was suspected heart attack. So I spent a lot of time in and out. In 22, I went to the hospital 15 different occasions, trying to figure out what was wrong, etc. And essentially, in December 22, it happened literally within 24 hours. I was here with a client. I was on a call, and the client said to me, "You're turning grey." And I said, "I think I have the flu. I had COVID a couple of weeks ago, so it must be the flu. I'm feeling really unwell, so I'm going to go back to bed." So long story short, I wound up inside in the hospital and my kidneys had failed. And I had an infection in my left leg that had sepsis type infection, cellulitis that had just completely devolved into a serious infection. And my leg was at least twice the size it should have been, and it was traveling up to my hip. And because my kidneys had failed in September, and this is what he told me afterwards, it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when, because the decline had begun. And because the decline had begun, all my organs had become toxic. So I had arrived into the hospital that night with a massive left leg, my kidneys gone, and my organs following on behind it. And just even as before we were diagnosing any of this, it was obvious that my leg was massive, and we thought maybe first it might have been that, but I knew I was dying that night. And I said it to my consultant. I said, I don't deal well with ambiguity. I deal well with facts. So I'd rather if we make a deal that you tell me everything, keep it straight and whatever. And he looked at me and he said to me, Mr. Mann, you're a very, very, very sick man. And I looked up to him and I said, I know, Doc, I'm dying. And and he shrugged his shoulders and he said, I'll do my best for you. And I said, you will, I know, all right. And so that led to me I'm kind of giving you the outside of it first, just to give you a grasp of it. I'd only told Laurie some of it, but I spent a month inside in hospital. While I was there, I had a stroke. Um, I also had a severe drug reaction. My body just blew up from all the drugs that were pumping into my system. Everything that could literally go wrong, went wrong in that occasion. And everything was completely compromised. Um, But it was the first night that I was in there, that when I was lying in the bed, after having that conversation with the doctor, and to kind of give you where his challenge was in all of this. He, because of the medication I had been on, they could do nothing for me. They couldn't put me on dialysis because they couldn't do biopsies. They couldn't do anything for me because every time they couldn't put lines in, to push the drugs into my system or anything like that. Because every time they put a hole in me, he said, you'll literally leak to death. He said, there's nothing I can do for you that way. So his challenge was to keep me alive. And he told me later on that if I hadn't been on on the blood thinner, that he'd have taken my left leg that night. It would have been the most prudent thing to do. So, like I say, everything had stacked up, and I'm keeping it as straight as possible. I'm not adding anything into it, to glamorize it or whatever. But it was pretty mental, for the want of a better description. My body had failed. Period. And I knew the mortal tiredness was upon me. I knew my body was done. I knew it was over. That's the best way to describe it. There's a tiredness that just, there's a knowing that a moment your body is done. That's it. And you're not coming back from this one. Not on your own anyway. Not on my own. So I lay in the bed and I was thinking, I've got 3 adult children, my wife and my life and whatever, and everything was going around inside in my head, and crap, and paying the mortgage, we're finishing that, and oh my God, what are we going to do? And the kids are in college, and blah, 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 what was going on. And this was the gift of the principles, and this was the night that I knew what Sydney Banks was saying was absolute in its truth. It was absolute in its truth. Because I began to realize the intellect of my mind. The mind just doing what it does. It starts to analyze the future, and it does all of these and what ifs and whatever. And I found myself getting revved up. So even in that state, I just stepped back from it. Inside my own head, I said, oh, hang on a sec, this is all getting wild inside, and I was getting anxious and stuff. And the question occurred to me. What's the most important question? Like, what is it that's just most important here? And the question that occurred to me at the end of all of this is that the only question that matters is the question of love. Did I know love? Was I loved? Did I love? Were those in my life loved by me? Was I loved by them? Did they know it? Because nothing else matters. And I could answer in the affirmative that yes, that my wife and my children know how much I love them. I know just how much my wife and my kids love me and my family. And I've always been very open in telling the people that matter to me how much I love them. And everybody in my life that knows that's in my life that knows that I care about them knows that I love them. And that was it. Everything just started to settle. And I use the word grace because that's the word I have to describe this feeling. I don't have another word for it. This is just what makes sense, because words words are this in comparison to what a feeling is for all of us. Because even when we use our language to describe the word anger or frustration or joy or whatever, it's still just this teensy little thing that describes the vastness of a whole experience, right? But grace seemed to be the word that made more sense to me. And it's like everything that was separate stopped being separate. And for a while afterwards, I described it as if soul put its hand out and touched the world of form. That was the only language I had at the time to describe that, was that it's like I was Billy, but Billy was there, but Billy wasn't there. That's the best way to describe it. I was fully conscious of everything that was going on, but there was something just so much deeper going on. And it was when I stopped, shortly after, as I stopped using the before soul, the soul, because I realized that it's just soul. It's not the soul, it's not separate, it's soul. And I spent 28 nights inside in the hospital with all of these different challenges and my body shutting down and they're pumping drugs through my system. And that doctor that night decided, look, if I can keep you alive, the first 7 days were critical. If I can keep you alive long enough for the effects of the drugs to have worn off, he said, I can get you onto dialysis and we'll get you onto the transplant list, and that's the win. That's the win, you know? If we can keep you alive long enough to get you on dialysis and on the transplant, you're out over the line. Now, I got all of this afterwards. Like one evening, one morning, he came to visit me after Christmas in his rounds, and he was on his own. And he spent time with me, and he told me, that's when I got the whole story. And he'd said to me like that I was literally his sickest patient in the hospital that winter was because of the state I was in, because on the outside I looked like this, but on the inside everything had just gone. And that was the difficult part of it. It didn't equate, he said, but that state of grace revealed the truth of Sydney Banks and what Sydney Banks speaks about mind and speaks about the formless, and this, there's a part of this that will probably lend to the conversation we had a while ago, is that there is this most extraordinary feeling available for every single human being. And if we arrive to the last day with the question of love and knowing love, as it appeared to me as, there isn't a human being, it's available to everybody without exception. Now, I don't know what's on the other side of the veil, like I don't, but I can tell you the most extraordinary feeling that doesn't have a language. Like I refer to it as grace, but only simply because it's a word that seems to align with the feeling of it, for the want of a better description, is available to all human beings. And that night I realized that mind uses thought to focus creation onto consciousness. And it's only this week in my conversations with Dr. Bill did I realize that Sydney Banks had spoken about it in the Enlightened Gardener, and I'd never realized it until this week, where I realized that there is, like, we hear that Sid spoke about there only being one principle, which is the principle of God, which is the principle of mind, which is the principle of creation, the principle of whatever we want to call it, universal energy, doesn't matter. Still only language, you know? And thought and consciousness are the mechanism of God, that even thought and consciousness are created by mind. And the mechanization of formless into form. They are principles. It's just true. Doesn't matter. You can argue it. It doesn't. I don't care if you can argue it in or out, but they are the principles of it. The principle of mind, thought, and consciousness. God uses thought to focus creation onto consciousness. We become aware of consciousness through consciousness, creation, that thought gives form to. But that is from God. And I'm never going to know God. None of us are, because we're contained within God. like I use the metaphor of the river, but ultimately this is what I'm seeing, is the fact that we are part of and contained within the mind of God. We can't know it, the divine, because we're a divine thought suspended in time, space, and matter. So we're within it, so we'll never actually know it. And what opened up to me was the absolute trust in it. Was the absolute trust in it. And the absoluteness of what Sid was saying, it just things became so clear to me. And I kind of, holy shit, Sydney Banks is right kind of a moment, It's just, he's dead right, like, he had it figured out, right? And that's how it started to unfold. And so all of this, all the way through the hospital experience. And I also coached the cleaner while I was in there, whose daughter was in a difficult relationship when she discovered I was coaching. She used to come in every day and she'd have another question for me and she'd sweep around the bed and we'd answer the question and she'd go away again. And which was very sweet. When I was leaving, she was hugging me and crying. We were at a lovely moment with her. But all the laws of averages, everything was stacked against me. Medically, everything was stacked against me. Everything that could possibly medically go wrong went wrong. And I remember my friend Louise coming to see me, and she's a physio in the same hospital. And Louise, many years ago, both herself and one of her sisters both had Crohn's. And it had devolved so badly that at the same time, the two sisters were in hospital and they were in palliative care because the hospital could do no more for them. They said they were beyond, their whole system like that. And Louise came into me the first day and I was sleeping in the bed and I opened my eyes and there was Louise sitting in the chair. And she asked me how I was doing. And I just said, Louise, the mortal tiredness is on me. And I closed my eyes again. And then, I suppose 30 seconds later, I opened my eyes and there was Louise sitting and like I say, and she was crying. Because she knew what I was saying to her, that there is a tiredness, there is an in to the body that we just innately know. And she held my hand for a couple of minutes and we didn't talk or anything. And she left and went back to it. And she'd pop up most days to see me. But she was the only person I knew that understood when I said about the mortal tiredness. It was upon me. I knew my body was over and I knew that it was up to the hospital at that stage. So 28 days later, I walked out of the hospital and was in recovery. I completely defied all the odds. And if anybody knew my consultant, the man, there isn't a word spare. There's nothing superfluous to this man. And he's both feared and admired in the hospital because everybody knows just how brilliant this man is. But he works very hard and he expects everybody around him to do the same thing. And, so I consider myself incredibly fortunate that this man happened to be on duty the night I went into hospital and I became his patient. So I entered his weekly clinics, then I had to come in every week and out to the hospital. And after a couple of weeks, I went in to have him about 5 weeks afterwards, 6 weeks afterwards, and he was inside, and it was my turn to see him, and he was leaving. He was going, "This is such a pleasant surprise." He was going, and I was, and I'm sitting there because you wait until he's ready. He's like a lot of people to see, so he's very direct in what he's to say. And I said, "What's up?" And he said to me, "I never get to say this to patients." And I said, "What's that, doc?" He said, "You seem very happy about something." Quietly celebrating myself. "Oh God, this will be the good news, maybe." And he said to me, "It never happens." He said, "Your bloods have done a complete 180. Whatever you're doing, don't stop doing it." Because my numbers were, I don't know if anybody here is a medical expert in this whole, recognizes it with that in the area when creatinine or whatever it is shows up in the body, 500 is terminal. I was at 480. That's essentially the numbers. That's how it works out. So to have brought it back down. So my kidneys are CKD2, whatever, that chronic kidney disease level 2 at the end of that. But I'm getting 100% function from what I've left. My body is functioning 100% normally. It shouldn't. I am on certain medications, obviously, and stuff because he has me on them to protect him. But he kept saying it to me. It's such a pleasant surprise. I never get to say this to people. He said, because last week you were in, he said, and he has a couple of secretaries and he attaches patients to these secretaries. So when we want to contact him, we'll use this secretary or whatever. And he said, it was in my mind this morning to say to Sandra to bring in an overnight bag because I felt you might be destabilizing. And he said, instead, I'm looking at this, he said, and he said, whatever you're doing now from here on out, he said, do not change it. He said, your bloods have taken a 180. And it was that whole experience. It was I'm completely 100% absolutely certain that everything that happened later on happened in the first night. Because when I absolutely accepted that that whatever it is, that I was at peace, that I'd accepted my passing, I'd accepted my dying. And even now, if it happens, it happens. It's just one of those things. I've taught my kids, my wife, don't worry about it. If I check out, I'm checking out as a done deal. I'm completely pleased with that. Because I have, like I say, I may not know what's on the other side, but I know the feeling that's waiting. And that's good enough. But why? But it was the absoluteness to which I now believe Sydney Banks, that I stopped worrying about needing to know who or what mind was. It stopped with the needing, stopped trying to scratch that itch of trying to figure out what was mine, trying to figure out who God is, all of these different things. I stopped it. I just stopped it. And when I stopped chasing it, when I stopped trying to, it just filled me. And I realized in that the gift of consciousness and thought was what we used to know the truth of this whole living experience. And this is the gift that's given us in its neutrality. And Steph asked me a question, did it, earlier on, do I carry that feeling around with me? I think when I talk about it, I think, maybe that's what happens. But no, it's not about that, but it's about being at peace with everything else. Like when my wife was sick last year, and in the absolute trusting of what Sydney Banks has pointed me to, it has just unfolded. And it just does. It continues to unfold. And, even this morning, myself and Richard were talking about, he said, it's time for you to start getting on the road. It's time for you to start speaking publicly. It's time for you to start doing all of these things. I suddenly got the, with it. Ironically, here I am telling, and I said to Richard, it's funny when you said that, I started to get this insecure thinking, the awareness of it. And I went, oh, isn't that interesting? And wow, I'm actually feeling insecure about it. Maybe that's what stopped me, because he's been nudging me for ages to do it. And here I am this evening telling a story that I had no intentions of telling you. Obviously, you're to talk about purpose, right? And what I want to add to the end of this, and Estelle, I absolutely want to hear what you have to say. And this might make sense to you as well, Lindsay, about this, and anybody that's listening to this. It's us that's the great unknown. Not formless. Everything that is known is there. We're the great unknown. That's not the great unknown. That's the known. And the calmer or the quieter or the more at peace we become, the more we talk about it all of the time, how much stuff gets revealed to us about living on purpose. But living on purpose means that when we go quiet, when we settle, as it were, the aperture it gets wider and more open, and the known flows through us. When our aperture is closed, we are the unknown. We're the great unknown, because we choose, our mind has closed that aperture. It's not that we're not of it. It's just that, like the ice and the river, we just become more compacted and we're not flowing with it. These are all just metaphors. That's literally it. But when I saw that night, I understood mind uses thought to focus creation onto consciousness. It's already known. It's all of it's known. It's only when we slow down long enough and allow the known to flow through us that it evolves into purpose, and it evolves into the feeling, and it evolves into all of it. So I don't worry about it. I don't think about it. It's not something that ever crosses my mind. I have absolute trust in it now. And sometimes when I hear people talking about the principles and talking about being, what is this? And I go, oh, cripes, if only they could see that even that's creating separation. That language is minuscule. It's just a teensy little thing to describe the enormity of the experience of life. Because when we're angry, that A-N-G-R-Y, we use these 5 little letters to describe the enormity of the fullness of our experience in that moment. And the enormity and the fullness of our feeling. So it's the same for everything else. When we slow our intellect down, when I slow my intellect, I slow my intellect down. When we talk about the universe holding us or having our back or all of those things ultimately are true. But when we forget that, we become unknown to it. That's always known. God has never forgotten himself, herself, itself. Divine knowledge, divine wisdom, divine everything is what it is. It's always known. And the more we slow down, the more, and it manifests itself as truth, love. We'd say love, peace, and joy, perhaps would be, if we were to describe human feelings. That is perhaps the alignment of it. And that's what I knew to be true that night. You know, that it just, and as time has evolved and as it just becomes clearer all of the time. And it became clearer because I stopped questioning it. I just put down the itchiness. And I just let it happen. And so peace, it's not about not feeling or the feelings. It's the feelings are part of this experience on this side. Embrace them, whatever the fuck they are in that moment. Live with them, knowing that it's just all part of the greater formless energy, all part of the river. We're just ice. We're just exactly of it. And so when we kind of lose faith in these things, when we get all knotted up, Lindsay, and stuff like that, it's kind of like that we just somehow forget that it's already known for us, and the only thing that we have to do to allow it be known back to us is just to fucking slow down. Feel at peace. Let the mind rest. Stop scratching it. And just, it's already known. It just comes back to us. It's how it appeared to me. We're already known.
Thank you, Billy. Thank you for that sharing. And I believe Estelle has a question she wants to ask, or maybe something she says she's heard from listening to you. Estelle?
Wow, that was really deep, Billy. And, I have a question, like, can we experience mind knowing that we always are filtered by thought? But we do. Like in your experience on the 4th day, you surrender, you were in acceptance and you surrendered. And somehow you've experienced mind like at a level you never experienced before. And that made me think of an experience I had as well. I was swimming along in Bali on the beach, and there were big waves. It was a beach for surfers. But I was swimming very close to the beach and parallel to the beach. And without noticing, I was thrown very far away in the sea. And I was fighting to come back against the currents, to come back. And I was going like in a transversal way, trying not to fight too hard. But I don't know what happened, but a wave, I felt like in a washing machine, and I went down to the bottom, and I had that feeling of, that's it, I'm done, I'm gone, it's over. And I was not fighting. And I felt that incredible peace in me. And it was just like, yeah, just like, I don't know, it's hard to describe. It's just like this deep feeling of surrendering and acceptance, and it's okay, like, bye, you know. And I woke up on the beach. I don't know how. There were nobody around. I was still far away. I lost total. I just woke up and I said, like, what happened? I have no idea, no explanation.
Do you need one?
No, no. But it's just that another miracle, right? Like, it's just like, wow, when you totally surrender. I don't know, I can't explain it, but I was thinking this is, like your experience on the fourth day is just let it go. And you are saved. So, how does that work? No clue.
I can't tell you. I don't know. Even the truth is that the principles themselves are just little words to describe. They're metaphors. They're just our way to concept how it all comes together as a language. I don't know. I mean, I'm never going to know what divine thought is and what divine consciousness is while in this forum. But I can absolutely trust it when I feel it and sense it and know it. And I have access to that deeper feeling that shows up as thought and as consciousness and the awareness of it. Consciousness, as they said, is the tool that gives energy to, gives life to, and the knowing of the thinking experience, the thought experience. But we can never actually know the mind of God or the movement of it. We just don't. But God can experience it. And the quieter we are, the quieter I am and the more I... You spoke about unconditional love. I think it was Ivan, you said that earlier on, about unconditional love and how powerful it is. Unconditional love is accepting the humanness as well. It's unconditional. There are times I'm an asshole. Right? There are times I get it wrong, but I'm at peace with all of that. Like, I don't know of any technique. In my case, it just happened to be that. Sydney Banks stood up and looked out his flipping bay window. And it happened in that moment. There is the great quantum physicist, Federico Fagin. I would highly recommend you looking and listening to this guy talk. And he talks about exactly the same thing. The white buzzing light. peace, love, and joy. And he's, for anybody that's in the technical world, like this guy invented the microprocessor or mobile phones. Steve Jobs used him for, he invented the technology around flat screens and all that kind of stuff. This guy has impacted all of our lives. Probably none of us have ever heard of him, but he talks about his enlightenment experience and how he realized that he had it the wrong way around. And he literally talks about the same experience, how his whole body burst into, he said it felt like it's like his chest exploded into light. Right?
I
Yeah,
share experience that I had.
please.
This was a long time ago. My youngest son at the time was 8 years old. He's 34 now. He was being mercilessly bullied at school and at home. It was a neighbor boy that he went to school with, and so he could never get away from the bully. And he was so distraught. One day at school, he said, within earshot of a teacher, "I just want to kill myself." And this is an 8-year-old. So of course the teachers called, and we took him to counseling, the normal stuff, but that still didn't resolve the problem of the bully. So I was, my children were sleeping. I have 3, and I was trying to read a book to take my mind off of things, and I couldn't concentrate. I shut the book, and I was so distraught. I was just sobbing. And all of a sudden, I hear this gentle male voice behind my left ear. And they said, "Worry not, all will be well." And the second that was said, I felt this like buildup of energy right around my solar plexus, and like tingling energy to my fingertips and my toes. And then it came up and surged, and it felt like it came out of the top of my head. And when that happened, it felt like a huge weight had just been lifted off my shoulders. And I was at peace. And I feel like that was a true moment of grace that the universe gave me. And eventually my son was fine. He's fine. He's happy and well adjusted now. So that was a real turning point in my life.
What a gift, Deborah.
It was a gift. It was a huge gift.
God, what a gift.
Mm-hmm.
But it happens when it happens.
Yeah, you can't force it.
Right? And it turns up in whatever way
You
it's
don't
going
expect
to
it.
when it's going to turn up, and it can
Yeah.
turn up in like in clearly in our moments. It showed up in moments of, but like I said, Banks was standing at a bay window. Federico Figin was lying in his bed. But something just shifts, and I'm only telling my story and how it made sense to me. You're telling your story, Deborah, and how it makes sense to you. And that's because of the uniqueness of us as human beings and the manifestation of us as that. And one of the things that I heard a long time ago that really stayed with me, and it was somebody had remarked about the great J. Krishnamurti and another teacher were arguing about something. And I don't know who was asked the question. Was it Paramahansa Yogananda was asked the question about them arguing or whatever? And what he said was, he said, they may be arguing about the teaching, but they're not arguing about the truth. They may be having a discussion, but there was never a loss of respect. It was never a story. There was never an argument about the truth. They just realized that I teach it this way, and they kicked it around for a while and whatever. But then he said they never argued about the truth, and it always stayed with me. The truth will manifest itself the way it manifests in each and every one of us, the way it's going to do. Not by choice, but the way it is. And for me, it just happened that way, that my mind went quiet that night, and that's what I knew to be true. And I stopped searching. Fully accepted that what Sydney Banks pointed me towards was 100% true. and the rest is gravy, you know. The rest is just enjoying it now. Laurie, thank you for giving me the opportunity to tell that story. I don't think I've actually publicly told that story. I've shared it with people, but I think this is the first time I've actually publicly shared it with people who've not been in my life.
It's such an amazing example of how life flows. It was the right time. I mean, I saw 3 words from you. I wrote it down because it just really struck me. I happened to be on Richard's Facebook post. I certainly didn't know about this story, Billy. And I didn't even know that you lived in Ireland. I thought you were in the UK. That's how much I knew about you.
Allowed you off the hook.
And I saw when passion and purpose meet love, they ignite. And so I contacted Steph and Richard. I said, can we get Billy on this with us? Because that really landed for me. When passion and purpose
meet love,
they ignite. I mean, wow, that was just, and I don't think that came from your brain. I think that came from, because it was among other words in your comment. Yeah. But that's really it in a nutshell. Love.
Love, yeah, absolutely. And love isn't, and I know Richard hears me saying this, love isn't the little fat fella with the nappy and the bow, and the shooting arrows, right? That's to me, it limits it to an image, a concept. But to me, love is the dynamic energy of the universe.
Yes.
It's the dynamic energy. It's the how it manifests in a given moment to expand us in that moment. And that may appear like the most loving thing we can do is be patient. Or the most loving thing we can be is tolerant, or the most loving thing we can be is giving. But when love manifests itself, it's because it manifests itself in a way that in that moment, whatever that experience is just expands. So if we limit it to this idea that it has this romantic version of, which is very much true, but very much a part of the dynamic, that's what that energy is from the formless energies, the dynamic energy of all of this. It brings all of this to life. And if we talk about the feeling of love as it appears, is the very thing that allows me to expand in that moment, regardless of what it may appear like. We often speak about what's the most loving thing in the moment. But it's the dynamic energy of expansion within all of us, the expanded feeling, the expanded moment. And I love that. To me, that makes so much sense. It energizes me to know that love can manifest itself. We only use the word love because that's, I like the word grace. It's just simply a little word to describe something that's beyond language. But man, does it move life. And that's literally God's way of speaking to us and moving us in the right direction. It expands in the moment, whatever it may be. And I love that. I love that. So listen, thank you so much. And I just realized I've been going on for a while. I really do appreciate the opportunity to have told the story. There you go, Richard. Right? We only spoke about it this morning.
Creating that possibility, I think.
There you go. Like I say, this is the first time I've actually told the story.
It is.
Yeah, so thank you for the opportunity to say this.
Well, what a blessing for all. What a blessing for all of us. Thank you so much for that story. Wow.
Really, it's been a pleasure to tell it.
Thank life. Thank God. Right?
Yeah.
Be blessed.
I'm so glad this is recorded for others to share in this. So thank you all for making this possible. And let's gather again soon, I would say. We've been on for 2 hours. Can you believe it?
I just looked up at the clock and I was, holy shit, I've been waffling for about 45 minutes. Thank you all
We
so much.
needed it.
It's been an amazing experience, not just to tell my own story, but to have been part of this. You know, it's been a great experience. Thank you all so much.
Yeah.
I'm
Thank
profoundly grateful for everyone here, everybody that's been able to share the space with us in such a deep, beautiful way. I really, really, this is a sacred space, and thank you, Billy, thank you, Laurie, thank you, Richard, for helping us get this space, create this space, because that's what it's all about. All happens in this space.
And thank you everyone else for turning up and also sharing your experiences and your stories. So I think your contribution and appreciation is very, very much welcomed as well from our side as well. So Laura, I think it will be a sequel in the new year.
That's good to me. Make sure I get invited.
Okay.
Thank you all. It's been
Love you guys.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you all.
Guys. Thank you.
Have a lovely Christmas holiday period.
Thank
Take care,
you.
everyone.
Merry
Thank
Christmas.
you all. Take care,
I
everyone.
wore my my Christmas baubles.
Yes. It's very nice.
Beautiful. Thank you, Laurie. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, my
Bye,
friend,
everyone.
Billy. Love you
Thank
lots.
you.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Blessings.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Billy, Steph.
Steph is gone.
Wow.
Laurie, do you want to stop your recording?
Oh, wait, I got to stop the recording, don't I?
Yeah.